All right, welcome back. Good morning. It's 10 minutes past 7 a.m. Good morning. Welcome to the program. I'm Victor Olo. So today being a Wednesday, of course, I really want to take a look what is happening in the country, politically speaking, and most importantly, socio-economically, being the viewpoint. Excuse me. Okay. So I want us to take a look at really what's happening. For example, now the president has received finally the final report of the IEBC nominees, and now we expect the next process to continue. He'll be handing over after picking the suitable candidates and thereafter sending the names to Parliament for approval. I have Wilson Sosion, who is former nominated MP and former NAT Secretary, in studio with me already. Good morning, Mwalimu.
Good morning, Victor.
And Patrick Oso is a politics and a governance expert already in studio with me. Patrick, good to see you.
Good to see you, sir.
And Peter Njeru, who is a political analyst, also in studio. Gentlemen, karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
So let's start where we should. Sosion, it's been long overdue. And here we are, finally. There's some white smoke. Much we're also waiting for the white smoke from the Vatican, but finally there's some white smoke at the end of the day.
Yes, there is white smoke.
Right.
We've seen the white smoke.
Yes.
And once we see the white smoke, then the rest we will see the IEBC Commission on the balcony with the chair.
Yes.
Taking over their responsibilities at the IEBC. It has been overdue, and you know, we don't have a chair, we don't have even a one commission. And from the curricular report and the history of this country, we need a working IEBC that works through a number of things that needs to be done. One is audit of 2022 general elections. Two, conducting by-elections for many vacant constituencies. I think is a huge number, and some have been doing without, some constituencies have done without members of parliament for over 2 years.
Yes, Banisa.
And you see that is a big injustice. So there's a lot of work cut out. And then number three, registration of voters in preparation for 2027, and generally the preparation for 2027 general elections, including the delimitation of boundaries. So there's a lot of work cut out. The secretariat has been in place, and I'm sure they've done what they're able to do. But of course, they are limited to do certain functions. But now with the coming in of the chair and commissioners, I think all shall be well. The statement by the president acknowledging receipt of that report is signaling the final conclusion, because once the president is in receipt of those names, then within 7 days, he must transmit those names to Parliament. And Parliament will vet and approve, I think within 7 or within 14 days as well. And then they stand appointed and they are gazetted to office. And that is the procedures of Chapter 15 Constitution. So we look forward to having an IEBC in place, and we see IEBC operating. And the country gets assured of a free, transparent, verifiable, and accountable elections of 2027.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patrick, based on what Mwalimu said, finally there is some light at the end of the tunnel, as what I call the white smoke. He's given us a very good breakdown on what should follow now that the report is with the president. Until now, we'll have a fully formed commission.
As a young person
and
as a young leader in this country, and with fresh mind, and I want to say that in future, I think we need to do some referendum so that we have all stakeholders involved in matters of reconstituting an IEBC. And I want to say this following a letter that was drafted by His Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka to the President. And this to show the quench for all the stakeholders to be involved in selection of the IEBC commissioners or the chairman. I'm saying this because, you see, this will help the people who have applied the job, or they have applied to be the commissioners, not to have allegiance to the state. Because I cannot fully, attest that we can have fair and free or justice within the commissioners, because all these people are allegiance to the state. So I want to say this with a lot of confidence also in the matters of all sectors of government, including judicially and also including the security forces, whereby we should have a very independent body, that which is used or that they can use in order to do selections, even to the IG of police, the CDF, the Chief Justice, because if all these people are vetted and approved by the state, that means they are inclined to the state. So what I'm requesting for the people that who qualify to go ahead and have the, to run the IBC, to actually know that we are in a very new dispensation, and they shouldn't in any manner have or embrace any malpractice within the institution. So we want to call them to be very responsible citizens and to be patriotic, and especially when we are coming to elections in 2027. The reason I say about stakeholders is that in this case, for example, for people who have probably declared or maybe they have vested interest to run for Kenyan presidency, like me, because that to me is a very sensitive thing, that now that I will be running for the Kenyan 60th president, I'm a stakeholder to the commissioners or the people that will be elected. Anyway, it is because it is our country and the country that is Kenya, whereby a lot of nepotism is practiced, and that is very key to me as a leader and a young leader in this country.
Great. Peter, what do you think? The country has been waiting for the commission for far too long. I mean, we've had the commission itself having a lot of issues during elections. But as a Kenyan who's voted 1,000,001 times, exaggerated though, and you have a story to tell about how Kenya has been democratically speaking, what should we expect now from the new commission? Of course, we're still waiting for more processes to be followed.
Thank you. That's a very good question. As Kenyans, what we should expect now is nothing but the best. Nothing but the best in the sense that we've had a very rough history in the area of elections. And the team that was constituted to identify the nominees for the commission's position is a competent team, and we put it out to now those that have been shortlisted for appointment. When the list is finally released for the names that have been appointed for those positions, to go an extra mile and commit ethically to give Kenya nothing else but the best. When we look at the history of our country in matters elections, it's quite patched with both good and bad moments. When you look at 2007, the then Electoral Commission mismanaged the election and the country almost went to the abyss. These are things that nobody wants to imagine they can happen in this country again. And therefore, my challenge and expectation as a Kenyan and as a leader is that those that will get the challenge now to lead us to the next election cycle will be able to give the country nothing but the best. I have no suspicion with the panel that was interviewing and shortlisting the names of nominees. I have no suspicion with the process because it was within the law, constituted within the law. It was done openly. All of us would follow on screens that who are being interviewed. We interacted with them through the airwaves. We had their level of intelligence. We have a feeling on who they are, what they can do, their experience and competence in various areas, viewing from their history, where they have served the nation and worked in other places. And so when I sit as a leader, waiting to hear the final list being announced and waiting to see the white smoke, I am confident and sure that the country will get the best. Now, power corrupts. Power corrupts. I would also challenge those that will be given those responsibilities to lead our electoral body, to exercise utmost fidelity to the law, so that the don't get into places of making decisions and power and lead the country in the wrong direction. We had a competent IEBC in the last general election, and we saw what happened. Some were announcing results here at Serena.
Yes.
Others were announcing at Bomas. But these are guys that when they were given those responsibilities...
That was actually bringing me to the next question, because the collegiality and synchronization between the chairman, the entire executive, and the commissioners is one thing that has always been... I mean, it's not something new to all of us. Last time we saw the Cherera 4, we saw the Lozina Combes of this world. We've seen the division in the IEBC. So that brings the question of unity in the commission. I mean, does it mean that we have got different forces in the commission itself, vested interest in the commission itself, or we have some other external forces that infiltrates the commission? Let me start with you, Mwalimu. I'll come back to you.
No, it is common knowledge that the 2022 elections,
yes,
there was an intention to overturn the will of the people of Kenya through some members of the IEBC Commission, particularly the Cherera 4. And of course, they were indicted and dismissed eventually. And that would be very preposterous. The role of the commissioners is not to vary what has been decided at the polling station. And it would be very dangerous for any commissioner, whether it doesn't matter the beliefs, it doesn't matter the political inclinations, if any, to try and tamper with the final decision of the people of Kenya. So suggesting that after the verification of results, because I was in Bomas as the agent of the president myself, and after receiving forms 34B from all constituencies and verifying results, and they're automatically, finally tallied, you cannot tell us that you take those results again to review it in another process.
That was not the only incident.
The law
we also
clear.
saw the Kivuitu
the
Commission.
law then, the law then.
We also saw the Kivuitu Commission.
The law then, once the numbers are established,
yes,
the law then empowers, and the Constitution, the chair IEBC to declare the results. It cannot be that once the elections are done, the numbers are there.
There is no doubt about that. There is no doubt about that.
You retreat to some room to vary the numbers.
There is no doubt about that. My question is, Mwalimu,
and that was the contention.
We've had, just a minute, we also had an issue. You remember what happened in KICC when Kivuitu was just about to announce the election, even during the referendum and all that? It has been dodged a lot of what Peter said,
and the
truth a lot of
and
suspicion.
the truth of what happened in 2007 is only known by Kivuitu in the grave.
No.
Because,
No.
yeah, it's true. It is true. Why?
No.
Why? Kenyans will never ever know the truth of what was declared in 2007. That's a fact of history. We were here. We are stakeholders in this country. We voted and we participated in the process. But then that became water under the bridge. It led us to a coalition government to cure everything and bury and forget.
Yes.
But what Kivuitu pronounced were those really the authentic and the accurate outcome of 2007 election.
So the question is, so that we look, so that we get the positive side of it.
Flowing from 2007.
Right.
That is why we wanted an IEBC that does business above board. And that is why now in Kenya, elections begins and end at the polling station.
I hear you. But my point is, and my question is, that why is it possible to have a stable and united commission that would deliver an election to the last one without any sense of suspicion?
And that is why there was a selection panel. That is why Kenyans submitted their applications. And that is why Kenyans were shortlisted.
Okay.
They were interviewed because we envisage a professional, impartial,
yes,
independent, and cohesive IEBC that facilitates. Their job is only to facilitate the election. Their job is not to determine. the determination of election outcome is exercised by the people of Kenya through their sovereign power at the ballot.
Okay.
Their business is only to facilitate.
Let me come back. Let me come to Patrick. Patrick, now, based on what you've heard, Kenyans were given time to submit their memoranda, to submit their opinion, to submit their views, and we watched it live here on KBC. It was all live.
Yeah.
But even with the due process being followed until the end, we'll still have, different opinions at the end of the election. Between now and election, everything will be okay, all right?
Right.
But when it comes to that, we see the division between the commission itself.
Yes. I want to actually just respond a little bit of what Honorable Sosiona said. You heard the sentiment of SK Macharia the other time, indicating that there were irregularities on who won the elections. I don't want to major on that. That's just an indication of a lot of malpractice or a lot of irregularities that is within the IEBC. And I want to say this. Once the elections will be declared, I would request my fellow colleagues in security agencies, actually when the sword will be at lunch for anyone to go for it, to remain neutral and to be proactive. What I mean is that I want to see the military, I want to see the police being deployed in all the constituencies, in all areas. Because the elections that we are looking forward is not an election like any other elections. You have had people talk ill of the government today, which is not my main concern. My main concern is to see a credible elections, and especially which one that is coming. 2027 elections is not like any other elections, and we do not want to see what happened the previous years, whereby people going, division in IBC, others announcing the results in different places. And that one is an indication that we have a very huge problem. And as I indicated earlier, we have a problem with nepotism in this country, whereby everyone in their position today, they are there not by merits, they are there because somebody else politically is connecting them to them. And I want to say this. I have seen that nepotism actually being extended to our police forces, to our KDF, and to our other security agencies, whereby in a political rally, you can imagine in a political rally whereby a politician has got to actually, talk to an IG in front of civilians. And I want to say this for the respect of our security agencies in this country, that they need to be very neutral, as is provided by the Constitution, Article 239. They need to make sure that we become proactive, because we do not want issues in 2027 or any other election in this country whereby people want to deviate the win or the elections to the direction they want.
Yeah.
So that's my submission in regard to what we have seen and witnessed before. So I can tell you, although that we have never had any credible election in this country. I'm talking this having worked with the National Intelligence Service of this country. So what I am looking forward is, because having worked with the security agencies in this country, I am calling them, once the electioneering period will be declared, they will, and they should remain very neutral and begin to to plan and strategize on how we can have a credible elections, so that we don't have people and civilians, people fighting.
The issue of by-elections, Peter, we have got so many by-elections coming up. And now, even after that, it seems that the commission is going to come with a whole, and find a room full of assignments waiting for them. Starting from what Sosion said, there's the limitation of boundaries, which is long overdue. By-elections in the country, across the country. We have got, for them to draw a budget that's going to run them until next election, and so much more. I mean, you can imagine sitting in that commission. Just imagine you're sitting in that commission.
Well, before I sit in the commission,
yes,
allow me to read on what my brother
go
has
ahead.
just talked about, high-level suspicion. And this is a great disservice to our nation, where majority of our citizens have a level of mistrust. And let me say that Kenya is a very fascinating society, because we tend to be highly optimist and highly pessimist in equal measure.
Yes.
Such that today we are full of negativity and mistrust and hate, and almost immediately this afternoon we are full of love and praises and looking forward. But what I would advise each one of us is that we need to train our eyes and mind and soul and spirit on the things that are positive until things are wrong. When you look at,
you can repeat that. You can repeat that.
we need to train our mind, soul, and spirit on the things that are positive until things go wrong, such that I don't have to assume that the next general election will be rigged. I don't have to assume the next person to be hired by state or by a company CEO will be hired on basis of tribe and the other relationship.
Yes.
Let me trust and believe that my CV will be properly looked into, will be considered on matters of merit until it doesn't happen. Why am I saying this? In this country, we've had so many elections carried out. Majority of them have been contested in courts, and only one has been overturned, presidential election. And therefore, it does not therefore mean that our fears and our suspicion is valid, because put to the threshold of the law, it is proof that the process was credible, the process was free and fair. And even the one election that was overturned by the court was repeated, and the result of the repeat election were found by law to be credible. That's why we are a nation up to now. And now coming to the mandate of the IEBC, once we see the white smoke, it's a very exciting picture to paint, that you come to an office when you are barely 2 years away from a general election. Planning a general election is not a walk in the park. It's not easy. But even before they think about planning the general election, there are so many by-elections that are sitting in between.
Yeah.
There are so many other responsibilities, constitutional duties they have to execute before venturing into matters 2027. And I see very limited time for them to do that work. But the best thing we can do is to give them space and time and trust that they touch the ground running. Immediately we see the white smoke. The same moment, we need to see them doing something, laying ground for the next by-elections, because I think that will be their very, very first assignment. Then after the by-elections, they have also to think about boundary delimitations or boundaries review, before they think about voter registration, before we think about
voters register.
Yes.
And all that.
Yes, there is a whole lot of things, and these things are time-bound. And therefore, we sit at a space where the IEBC, I would say it's behind schedule before it is constituted.
It looks so easy for them from outside, but the moment they step into office and everybody has a working space, then that's the moment they start to realize that there's so much that has been in store for them for the last 2 years.
Precisely.
Right.
Precisely.
Okay, Patrick.
I want to say one, that delimitation will not be a factor, especially to these coming elections. It can only be applicable in 2032. So to me, I would say it is not a priority, though there will be a lot of issues, one, because of the allocation of funds to run the elections. And also, I want to say that it is important for us as citizens of this country also to participate fully, and especially the young people, that you cannot sit at home with no ID or with no voter and not or going to vote, and then we expect to have, the winning or the persons or the leaders that we want in this country. Reason is that failure to vote is voting in bad leadership. So what I want to call for young people is to make sure that they go take the IDs, go register as voters. And what we want to see in this country is not the formation that I've witnessed, is to see formations of a new clique of leaders who are determined not to have irregularities in IEBC, who are determined not to have a lot of nepotism within the circles. And I want to say this for lack of doubt. Many of the things that have happened before is what makes us to be pessimistic at times. We have, and a lot of things in this country whereby we live in fear today. It is not possible, and I want to say again, it's not possible for the Kenyan today or the young people to have trust, even with the leadership that is here today or the parliament that is there today. because we have seen that all these leaders
Yeah.
are allegiance either to the political party, allegiance to a particular person, allegiance to the state. So what we are seeing today, we are not seeing what is the will of the Kenyan people. So what I want to say, what there is that let us be credible, let us be patriot, let us stand firm to make sure that we bring the leadership that is credible for us as Kenyans. Yeah.
I mean, electoral management in the country is one of the biggest issue, and probably has been another problem that IEBC faces, electoral management. Either there's one clique of the commission not so much in unison with the other commission. That in itself will create some fissure in the commission. Then how would we bring this collegiality, again, coming back to that, so that the commission can run seamlessly, starting with the management of the electoral commission, execution of their mandate, and also deliver incredible elections, so that at one point Kenyans will say that the commission which was selected through their public participation has delivered to them a good and credible election.
I think as a country we must pride ourselves that we have strengthened our electoral process after every general election, particularly after the bungled elections of 2007. And the IEBC, the unity of the IEBC rests with the person of the chair.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the demeanor, the chair of the IEBC is everything. Once you have a competent chair, and you know, the threshold for the qualifications of the chair of the IEBC is that of the judge of the Supreme Court.
I think that statement belongs to the chair who will be picked.
Yes, so.
Right?
No, we cannot speculate who will be picked.
No, whoever, because there are two names already.
No, those are yours. Those are rumors. We don't know. There are many who sat for the same, and the names are with the president.
Whoever will be approved by the parliament.
In due course,
yes.
In due course, the president will send a name
yes.
of the next chair of IEBC for vetting and approval or disapproval by the National Assembly. And that is why the appointment process is not absolute to the president. It is the president plays as an insignificant role of approving a name from those appointed and forwarded through a rigorous process. And so whoever ends up as the chair of IEBC is ending up as the chair of IEBC on merit, not because of political appointment and affiliation, because we expect a very, very independent and impartial commission. So according to me, we have simulated a free and independent IEBC over time. Even this process that we are going through, the process, the happenings of 2022 are great lessons of experience. And our electoral system has gone absolutely digital, and I hope the ICT infrastructure will even be strengthened so that in future, because the first ballot in every polling station to be tallied and declared is that of the president. And if many polling stations will close by 5 p.m. of each day, a few will extend into the night because of high voter turnout. Any declaration at the polling station is final, and if it were to be digitally transmitted, by 9 o'clock with our ICT infrastructure, and you see Kenya, one of the biggest pillars that the president is implementing is the digital superhighway and ICT infrastructure. We are getting into the fourth industrial revolution. May I see Kenya in the near future joining the US in delivering quick and instant and real-time results, and by 9 o'clock, the president will likely have been known.
Are we there yet? We didn't even see
any
opposition.
Let me tell you, we will be there. Can you remember?
Are we there
for some of the young men
election is in this country. You have contested for opposition.
There was a time.
It's a matter of life and death.
There was a time the returning officer in the elections during Moi era was the district commissioner. And during Moi era and Kenyatta era, there was nothing like a president having a manifesto. It was only peace, love, and unity, and that is it. And the returning officer was the DC, and you appoint a chair of something. But you see, we've evolved over time to real modern democratic practices. And we are getting into a time, we will get into a future where even we don't need to.
I really love to
we'll
wake up.
get into a future.
I would be a very happy man to wake up to that
where
day.
Kenyans will go to the offices, walk to a polling booth, vote, and continue walking.
I'd be a very happy man.
Because elections will be demystified.
Yes.
And Kenyans will know.
Let me get from
whoever
Patrick.
is to be
Let me get from
pronounced
Patrick. Yes.
is the one who masters the highest number of votes.
I love the way you put that point. Giving us a
that's
history
why
from
saying
Kenyatta
this
era
so
to
that
here.
my younger brother here,
Yes.
my agency, whom we've made and given them the best knowledge, to know the history and the journey we have walked, and know that they have a responsibility to carry the country into the future without doubts. Let us have a country where trust
Give time to your younger
where
brother.
Trust,
Give time to your younger brother.
is a brand.
Okay.
And therefore, the new IEBC, the brand should be trust. And I believe it will be.
I'll talk about that trust.
Let
Yes,
me
younger
say,
brother to Sosion.
let me say,
Yes.
with lack of doubt, that what we are seeing in the country today is deterioration of integrity. Honorable Sosion here will tell you, in some years back, just a few years back, people used to have newspapers on the road. They would buy and leave the money and leave the change. And I want them to attest this happened in this country. So where we went wrong is where I do not know. So what we are talking about here is not even digitalizing our process or even digitalizing anything. What we are talking about here is the process at which, because these gadgets and equipment are controlled by human beings. As long as we have nepotism, as long as we do not have, independent people running an election, we will still have a lot of malpractice in this country. And that is why I have said and have called upon our security agencies. Immediately, the electioneering period is declared. Let them take charge so that we camp any issues that can come after, especially for people fighting.
Yeah.
And two, I have seen a lot of goonism in our politics today. Let us have our security agencies camp so such kind of things, because what we have seen here, he will tell you, members of parliament and other, people elected within the constituency or county level, what do? They use a lot of goonism to make sure that they steal elections. So, and also again, can we have the commissioners, if need be, distributed to various counties or sections, so that now immediately the elections are concluded in various stations, it is announced there. And what the national IEBC commissioners to do is just to tally. So that now we can say at least we are minimizing the malpractice, or we are minimizing people stealing elections in this country. It is a very major problem, and that which we need to take it very serious, not just serious, and especially this time of our time.
Yeah.
And as I was said earlier, integrity in this country is the biggest issue in this country. People being lied to, things being taken, people taking law, on their hands without consideration that we have security agencies, without considering that we have people who are supposed to take charge. So what I want to say, and I will repeat again, it is our security agencies, immediately electioneering period is declared, to be deployed in all counties and areas to make sure that nobody uses goons, nobody in any case does anything, and especially making sure that we do not have a credible election come 2027.
Peter, the issue of trust in the commission has always been a very big issue. People say that, okay, we want to do this and all that, but the trust from Wanjiku itself, or Wanjiku herself in the commission to deliver an election, someone would say that there is some sense of doubt. So what should the commission do to win the trust of Wanjiku, even as we head towards a general election 2027 and even more to come?
Trust deficit is not just a discrepancy within the commission itself, but it's a society issue in our communities. When you look at it very clearly, even picking from what my brother has just mentioned, that there was a time we would go and buy a newspaper and leave the money there and take away the newspaper.
Keep change.
That is not, you give yourself change and you take the newspaper and go. That is not an IEBC trust issue. That's a societal issue. And therefore, again, looking at also having good laws and people not willing to follow the laws and processes is not, again, a government issue. It's a societal issue. Look at what happened on Sunday at Iwusi Stadium. There are regulations, there are laws, there are processes on how fans should behave. There is a good number of security personnel on the ground, but the fans end up crashing and fighting and maiming each other. So you cannot blame entirely IEBC for that. You can really blame the society for that. Talking of IEBC, because that's a conversation on the table. And therefore, as we talk about trust deficit within state agencies and independent commissions, National Police Service, IEBC, and other state departments, entirely it is not primarily a deficit in trust within those commissions. It's a deficit in trust within ourselves as the people of the country. And therefore, the question we need to ask ourselves is, why is this mistrust at such a high level that people, because of mistrust, are willing to go crazy, break the law because they don't trust the law enforcer? And going forward, talking about IEBC, I would encourage every one of us,
Yes.
every Kenyan citizen, to really read the Electoral Code of Conduct, whatever that one is, follow it and wait for the result. Go vote, go back home, wait for the result. Trust the process. If there is anything that we think IEBC has not done right, if any party is aggrieved, go to court, put up a petition, let it be heard through the required legal framework.
Yes.
Let it be determined, whatever the court decides, because the judiciary is also independent. Let us trust the outcome of the court. That's the only way we will start growing a community that is able to trust. Remember, the faculty to trust is not just, does not just happen. It is a journey that a child picks from the time they are born. The moment your father, your mother, your brother, your elder brother or sister goes out and says, hey, naenda job, nitakuletea sweetie. Then you are 2-3 years. Jioni, arudi na hiyo peremende. Then your faculty to trust starts to develop.
Yes.
And therefore, when you become old, you are an adult person, you're a leader somewhere, you will be able to easily trust what you hear your colleagues, your peers tell you. But now that today we have a generation that is unable to trust, everyone is suspicion to the other one. You are being suspected as you suspect those suspecting you. It is a clear indication that our roots have been shaky. Our faculty to trust did not develop from childhood. And this is a generational issue that we have to confront and deal with more intentionally and more from a psychological perspective, more patiently.
Yes.
Because it's not ever going to happen overnight.
So basically what I'm trying to say is that whatever is affecting us is more of a societal issue.
It's a societal weakness, yes.
But I think that it's also been implanted in us because the Constitution itself and the institution of electoral management lies with the Commission. So if their mandate expects them to do a certain thing and they do the opposite, then that trust deficit will be there. But even as you want to respond to that, Sosion, there is that issue of the chronic underfunding and physical mismanagement of the Commission.
Yeah, before I comment on funding and chronic...
underfunding.
Yes, because if you underfund the Commission, it cannot work. That's a fact for sure. Let me come to the breakdown of values and value systems in society. It is not right to transpose the societal breakdown of values and value systems and impose it as what is expected in the persons being appointed as commissioners, chair, and even the management staff of the IEBC. Remember, after 007, the IC that was there, EC, Electoral Commission, was disbanded and all the staff actually transferred out of EC completely because we needed a pedigree trusted IEBC. So persons of integrity should serve in the IEBC, from the secretarial staff to the IEBC. So let us not try and imagine that the societal corruption values which have gone down we still expect it from the IEBC. But then it's a cautionary thing to ask IEBC to operate above board. Number two, on security, you know, we must not weaponize our elections by imposing the police to look like we cannot be so democratic and mature that we must need security. Let's look at what happens in real civilized jurisdiction like the US. You rarely see the police anywhere near because the citizens are organized. Walk into a polling booth, cast your vote, it is captured, and in fact, in those jurisdictions, registration to be a voter is continuous. It even goes on up to the election day. You can register as a voter on that particular day and cast your vote. That's continuous. It becomes a right. You can vote outside the country and post your vote, which is what is diaspora voting, which has happened now in Kenya. We have allowed diaspora voting. I think we are progressing. And I would rather caution my Gen Z student to know where we are coming from and to know that we have to depolice. We have to depolice.
How old America is?
No, we have to
years.
depolice our electoral process and trust it to an extent that going into the future, the excitement that will be in the country is only about the process and the outcome
just ask
trusted.
you that, Sosion.
Lastly, the question you've asked.
Just a minute before you answer that, who is to change that notion? Because when it's come to election, it becomes a matter of life and death in this country. In the US, you're talking about, just a minute, in the US, you're talking about, when it comes to election, it's like, it's a holiday.
Yes.
It's a celebratory mood. Everyone, the environment itself is felt across the world. But in Kenya, it changes into something, Patrick's talking about security, don't do that, security, don't do that.
Because of the history of their democracy. You know, that's the land of the free and they value. Voting in America is the biggest thing, and in any democracy like ours.
Your student wants to interject.
No. Let me finish. Let me conclude. Let me conclude first. Then he will have all the space and all the time to react to that. I think, and you have asked who is to change. It is you in this show. It is me in this show. It is him. It begins with each one of us. If we can begin a culture of trust of the process and we play by the rules, and of course the electoral codes that guides the behavior, the conduct of candidates during elections, reasons for disqualification, they are there. And those rules, we must abide by them. Things like goon, how do you bring in goons to interfere with the process? Those are, the rules are indeed very clear, and we don't need the police. We only need to play by the rules and penalize those who are violating the code. And then you've asked the last question, the most important question, funding of IEBC. I dare say Kenya has funded its electoral process satisfactorily. And I think there are good reasons to do that, because we've seen peaceful elections in 2013, 2017, 2022, where the disputes don't go back to the public to determine, to fight. We have seen where, even if there are disputes, they move to the Supreme Court, a determination is made, and Kenyans agree, and indeed move on. So I still would believe that funding IEBC substantially and satisfactorily to do a good job is important, particularly in the aspect of installing modern ICT infrastructure.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to a day where by 9 p.m. of the polling day, we have known the president.
And life goes on. All right, Patrick.
We've known the president and the life goes on, and people begin celebrating in the evening. Those who have lost should be able to congratulate those who have won, and we have a good nation.
I would really be very happy if what Honorable Sosion is saying, and if it is practical. But he is forgetting that as they have claimed that we have a societal problem, which I agree with. Because if we have a societal problem, then it translates all the way to our offices. And again, having lived in the US for 4 years, and I wanted to understand why this country is a first world country. Why this country is, aligned to some democracy in the world. I also realize that much of the vocal political parties there are only two, despite the fact that they may have others. But in our country today, the difference between the US and Kenya, we have 92 political parties in purporting to...
And all of them are active.
Yes, purporting to display democracy, which is a confusion. And what I want to say right now, just to pinpoint a few issues to see whether as a country we follow these guidelines or principles of governance. One, do we have an accountable government or leadership or system since we got independent? Do we have a transparency or a transparent system since we got independent? Do we have a responsive government since independent? Do we have an equitable and inclusive government since independent? Do we have effective and efficiency government system in place? Do we have a government that is following rule of the law? Absolutely. Do we even have participatory and consensus kind of government? I will tell you, Mr. Oro, that since independent, none of these qualities or principles of governance we have as a country. And that is why the young people, we the young people, are very suspicious, because the problem we have today, and Honorable Sosion will tell you, and Mr. Jeru will tell you here, because they have been here before, that the problem we have today is so deep-rooted. It's not even about Ruto. It's about reforms, it's about systems that need to be uprooted, so that at the end of the day, we have a clean system. And that is why myself running for presidency of this country, I am very, very suspicious to wonder how we will have credible elections. Yet, to date, today, everyone is making noises, not actually to elections, to the development and things that are supposed to be catered for a common citizen in this country. So what I want to say is that let us, if it is about, and he has said about the goonism in election time, that is why I'm calling the security agencies in this country, that let them be present and supervise and make sure that no one brings goons, no one steals elections, so that now at the end of the day we become proactive, so that we do not have to have consequences to sort later, whereby we're having post-elections, fight and all that kind of consequences.
Something I just to remind you that Peter Njeru is a match commissioner with FKF. So let's bring it back home. he's also, the same way Sosion is also a teacher, chemistry, physics, Sosion?
Chemistry, agriculture.
Thank you. So let's bring it to football. For example, Kenya is a very large open field, everybody's playing, 11-11, the referees, they've got linesman, all that. So how do you play this football now, moving from now to 2022?
Speaking about football, football is governed by laws of the game.
Yes.
There are 17 of them. There are 17 laws.
17 laws, okay. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, the 17 laws, as a match of issues, we also have an additional one, law number 18.
Which is?
That's common sense.
Okay. So how do you relate the two?
When we now look at the portrait of football as a game, and the portrait of our country as a nation that requires good leadership, we need to be governed by laws. In this country, we have the Constitution, which is the supreme governing document of our nation.
Yes.
And also, picking from where my brother left, where he cast suspicion on every aspect of leadership. The best question to ask is, even when there are all these suspicions within the law, within the provisions of the law, do we have relevant fallback plans when those suspicions are valid? And the answer is yes. And therefore, it's good to imagine and agree that development evolves. Development evolves. It doesn't just happen overnight. You have the ideal situation this morning, just as you woke up, everything is heaven on earth. Like my brother Sosion painted a progressive report of what has happened since Jomo Kenyatta era to Moi era to Kibaki era to Uhuru Kenyatta era and now to our president, Dr. William Ruto's era, there is incremental advancement of our democratic space and incremental advancement of electoral system, all of them in the right direction.
Correct.
And so what we need to focus on now
Thank you.
are these advancements being made today, driving us in the correct direction.
Thank you.
And if that is the answer to that, we should be able to celebrate where we are and, of course, lament where there are grievous weaknesses and advocate for proper development
I want
and
us to
recommendations.
stop this discussion here because next is it's all about dispute resolution, all right? And in this country, have we actually explored many avenues to have our dispute resolution, the ADR. Can we also use it during election? Vivian Ndegwa has that discussion coming up. So, I know you have so much to say, but we have to finalize here. Allow me. We'll be here next week to discuss that, sir. If you allow
See
me.
you next week.
Thank you so much. My name is Victor Lo. Thank you, Session. He's former NATSEC General and nominated MP. Patrick Osoy, governance expert and a political analyst, and Peter Njero, also political analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. We expect much more to come. Now the president has got that report in his desk, and the next process is to follow until the final appointment of the commissioners and the chairman. My name is Victor Lo. Good morning.